the power to still another's mind through presence, a sacred exploration of energetic coherence, invisible transmission, and the deepest silence that enters others without effort. Opening transmission. Have you ever been in the presence of someone so deeply still that your own thoughts began to dissolve, not because they spoke, not because they instructed, but because something in their being did nothing? And that nothing was everything. This is not hypnosis. It is not persuasion. It is not charisma. It is the silent resonance of a fully unoccupied field, a being who has moved so deeply into stillness that all around them begin to remember who they are, not through words, but through the quality of space they carry. This is not theory. It is a transmission. And in this sacred offering, we explore the ancient inner power, not to dominate minds, but to empty space so fully that minds around you begin to still on their own. Not by your doing, but by your absence. 1. What is the power to still another's mind? This is not manipulation. It is not about influence or strategy. It is the field of presence that has become so inwardly silent that it begins to entrain the nervous systems of others, without words, without even intention. To still another's mind through presence means you are so completely non-reactive, so completely free of identity, that your very presence becomes like a mirror, a still lake that reflects the other's restless waters until they too begin to calm. This is the deepest form of transmission, and it cannot be faked, because it requires that you are no longer generating ripples inside yourself. When your inner waves go quiet, others begin to lose their compulsion to ripple. That is the beginning of stilling another's mind. 2. The science of coherent presence. Modern neuroscience confirms what yogis always knew, that nervous systems synchronize in proximity. When someone sits beside a person in deep coherence, someone whose brainwaves have slowed into theta or delta, whose heart rhythm is soft, regulated, non-defensive, the other person's nervous system begins to adjust, not because of effort, but because of resonance. This is called entrainment, when a slower, steadier rhythm begins to absorb or neutralize a more chaotic one. It's how a baby calms when held against the chest of a peaceful parent. It's why people lower their voices in a quiet temple. It's why your thoughts pause in the presence of a mountain, or why silence feels thicker in a cave. Presence is not just a state of mind. It's an energetic field that radiates into other people's perception without saying a single word. And when that field is stable enough, others feel it and begin to match it. The mechanics of silent transmission. To still another's mind through presence requires no technique, but it can be understood through a few inner mechanics. First, your breath must no longer follow thought. It must follow silence. This is when your exhale becomes spacious, your inhale becomes ungrasping, and breath ceases to serve personality. Instead, it becomes the subtle pulse of presence itself. Second, your attention must no longer contract inward toward identity, nor extend outward to grasp or fix. Instead, it must hover, like a resting feather on water, not pointing anywhere, not pulled by anything. Third, your internal commentary must dissolve, not repressed, not controlled, just no longer needed. When these three are steady, still breath, uncontracted attention, silent interior, you enter the zone of still transmission. You're not doing presence anymore. You are being what remains when the doer is gone. 4. Real-life signs you've entered stillness that affects others. You may notice people begin to speak more softly around you, or they pause mid-sentence, forgetting their words. You might observe that others begin breathing more slowly without realizing it, or they sigh more deeply after being near you. You'll notice children or animals becoming drawn to you, not playfully but quietly. Sometimes someone may say, "I feel calm around you, I don't know why." That's not flattery, it's reflection. But most signs are silent. No recognition, no reward. Just an atmosphere that deepens when you're present, not because of anything you say, but because you are not generating mental turbulence. Your emptiness becomes sanctuary for others. 5. The ancient origin of this power. In the most ancient traditions, the greatest sages were not known for what they said. They were known for their stillness. In early monasteries and Himalayan caves, disciples would seek out teachers who said nothing. Because the transmission was nonverbal, in some schools, silence was the highest form of instruction. A question would be asked. The teacher would meet the seeker's gaze and say nothing. That gaze would still the seeking mind, not by offering an answer, but by transmitting the state that needs no answer. This is not metaphor. This was real, and it remains real for those willing to live from this depth. Why this power cannot be faked. There is no performance here. No calm voice can substitute for an unchanging interior. No tranquil body posture can replace an unoccupied presence. You cannot still someone else's mind if your own is busy trying to appear spiritual, or wanting validation, or subtly grasping for approval. Because presence is not how you appear to others. It's how empty you are inside when no one is looking. Others may not consciously detect the difference, but their nervous system knows, and only true stillness speaks to it. 7. How to cultivate this transmission within yourself. This isn't learned by reading. It is revealed by ceasing to interfere with your own stillness. Here's a practice to begin. Sit comfortably with eyes soft or closed. Let the spine be upright but not held. Begin to feel the breath, not as effort, but as something already happening. Then ask gently, what if I don't need to do anything right now at all? Let this question echo. Each time a thought arises, just let it be like wind through an open window. No defense, no interest, no control. Remain. If emotion arises, breathe through it, don't analyze it. Let it move through the silence without becoming the silence. Do this daily, not to become better, but to become more empty. And as that emptiness becomes your resting state, you will notice the field around you change. That is when the transmission begins. Not because you tried, but because you finally stopped trying. 8. The ethical power of presence. To still another's mind is not about control. It is a sacred responsibility. It is only meant to relieve suffering, to offer space, to help others find what they already carry within them. You are not there to awaken them. You are there to stop echoing the noise that prevents their awakening. And in your stillness, they begin to hear what was always there. Their own silence, their own peace, their own truth. Mystical reflection. You don't need words to guide others. You don't need teachings. You don't need roles. You only need to become so undisturbed inside that you stop generating ripples in the shared ocean of awareness. And in that ocean, others begin to recognize their reflection again. Not because you taught them, but because you left the water still. This is the power to still another's mind, not through dominance, but through emptiness. If this transmission has stirred something within you, you are invited to journey deeper into the sacred path of subtle energetics, presence, and embodied silence. Subscribe for future teachings that are not meant to stimulate, but to empty. And if you feel called to go further into personal recalibration, transmission, or stillness-based guidance, you are welcome to explore the offerings linked below. Thank you for receiving this in stillness. Next episode preview. In our next sacred transmission, we'll explore the subtle energetics of sunlight, how yogis aligned with the solar current. a journey into the ancient relationship between inner breath and solar rhythms, and the way light itself becomes a teacher of stillness.